Welcome to the Freedom Camp Podcast, rooted in truth, growing in freedom, and built on the belief that you weren't meant to grow alone. Each week, I'll share honest stories, insights, and simple questions to help you explore the unseen things that keep you from living in the freedom that's already yours. And take brave, intentional steps toward the life you were made for. This is your space to reconnect with your authentic self and grow in freedom on purpose. Welcome back to the Freedom Camp Podcast, where we explore mind, body, soul, and spirit freedom in real practical ways. Today, we're going to talk about the ripple effect, how your inner world quietly shapes every room that you walk into, especially in December. Your inner atmosphere is always creating a ripple, whether it's peace, joy, kindness, or stress, frustration, and overload. An old friend of mine named Deanna had this uncanny ability to find four-leaf clovers and rocks that were shaped like hearts. And I think of her, and I think of her heart-shaped rocks when I visualize the reality of this ripple effect. Meaning, we can throw any old shaped rock into the water and the ripple will be whatever it's going to be, maybe anger or frustration or stress, etc. Or we can throw a heart-shaped rock. That's a rock that has been receiving the love of Jesus, receiving the love and the peace from God, and letting that ripple out. And so the visualization from Deanna is looking at my ripples that are coming out from me and thinking that I'm wanting to put a heart-shaped rock into that water. So if we're always sending out ripples, which can impact others, the question then becomes, what kind of ripple do you want to send out? Earlier this week, I was making Wookiee cookies for my son's birthday. And I have no idea how many times I have made cookies in my life. Tons. I didn't give it much thought. And I gave myself, 20 minutes or so to whip it all together, get it on the baking sheet, and get done. Well, I did notice that the recipe had some different things that it called for than usual. And I remember discussing it with him a couple days before and kind of like, well, should I just go with what I know to do or should I follow the recipe? And he suggested that I follow the recipe. And so I was like, fine, I'll follow the recipe. Anyway, all that to say, it was not working. It was not working. It was not working to the degree that I had never experienced anything like that in my life. And it was something weird. The eggs and the butter, they would not come together. They were all room temperature, etc. The point is, I heard myself saying, he came up during this whole thing and wanted to show me something. And I heard myself saying, to give me a minute because I'm going to throw something out a window. I don't think I've ever thrown something out a window. I don't think I really was going to throw something out a window, but I was like I was so frustrated. I was so frustrated. And then I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I felt the Holy Spirit nudge me and not just nudge me to step away, but Benjamin had just come to show me something. How about if instead of my usual go be off by myself, maybe talk to the Holy Spirit, maybe just mumble grumble under my breath for a few minutes. I chose to go be present with Benjamin. And I did that. And then I felt myself coming back to me. And then I did a Google search for what I thought was going to fix it to see if it would, because I also didn't have an unlimited amount of ingredients. Like I needed the fix to work. Google confirmed that it should work. I came back, I tried it, everything worked. That's a tiny moment, but it was a moment where my rock, so prior to this, I was all, sunshine and rainbows and whatever, all's good. In that moment, my rock became definitely stress and frustration and even anger. And then in that moment, it became a heart-shaped rock again. And I was like, I want to choose how I'm showing up for me, how I'm showing up for others. And so growing in freedom is often not necessarily a big dramatic moment. Sometimes it's like, whew, okay, I'm feeling stressed. Am I going to continue to ripple stress out to my house or my job or my circle of influence? Or am I going to pause? Am I going to Selah? Am I going to breathe? And am I going to choose a different atmosphere? So I'm curious, first of all, where have you felt yourself about to throw something out a window lately? And then my second question is, what might it look like to pause, to process that emotion, and to choose a different ripple next time? Feel free to put both or either of those answers in the comments. One thing that we really find in Freedom Camp week after week is when one of us starts to share, it first of all encourages others to share as well. And in that sharing, it gives them a way to feel and to be seen and to be heard and to be understood. And then also sometimes it gives language to something that someone else feels, but they don't quite know what word to say or how to describe it. So we talked about two other things that I wanted to touch on briefly. One is looking at places of overstimulation. And maybe it's not necessarily a place, maybe it's a time, maybe it's bedtime, maybe it's mealtime, maybe it's bath time, maybe it's workout time, maybe it's your meeting with your boss time, or maybe it's something that you feel over, maybe commute time. And you're just like so many noises and smells and whatever it is, you want to be able to have an idea of what that time is so that you can better prepare for your ripple. And so one of the things that came up, I was sharing that at bedtime, when Benjamin was in the bath or in the shower, that I was typically getting my phone out after everything else was done. And I was using that time to finish up my work. And I use air quotes, finish up my work, because a lot of my work is digital. I'm making a podcast. I'm posting on social media. I'm answering a question. I'm replying to a text, etc. And as most of us probably know, your phone is literally designed to suck you into it and to be addictive. And so it's very easy to get distracted. And it's very easy to use it as like a numbing buffer, especially after a long day. And so what I realized was the phone wasn't really giving me peace. It was becoming a habit, A. B, it was actually contributing to the overstimulation. That's one of my overstimulation times, bedtime, all the things. So instead of giving myself and my nervous system a way to regulate, I was just hyping it up even more. I learned that when a few weeks ago I started using my planner instead of using the phone, and or in conjunction with the phone. And with my planner, I'm looking at what are the things that were to be done today and what did get done, looking at my habit tracker, etc., and then what did not get done. Those things are moving to the next day or maybe the next week, or maybe they get crossed out because they don't need to be done anymore. Either way, I'm looking at it from a place of using my planner actually helps me calm down. It actually removes the noise from my nervous system. And best of all, it gives me the opportunity for these holy quiet moments that I'm craving. Because in the back of my planner is my journal. And so often I'm brainstorming, I'm writing, I'm doing a creation cycle, etc. So I'm curious, where do you feel overstimulated right now? Maybe in your physical space, maybe in your mind, maybe at a period of time during the day. And then is there one way that you could make that less noisy? Maybe maybe it's as simple as putting your phone down. Maybe it's changing something about your physical environment. Again, feel free, would love to see your comments in the comments below and use it as a way to encourage community through this Freedom Camp podcast as well. The last thing that we got into is looking at reframing guilt and looking at like, how do we deal with other people's ripples? So one of the things that I find often happens with guilt and with ripples, like that guilt is not necessarily a sign that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's a sign that you're doing something new, that your body is not used to it. You know, our body can be used to creating these chemical cocktails, particularly if you're growing in freedom from anxiety or worry. Your body may be used to, when you wake up in the morning, gives you a good dose of cortisol, gives you a hit of adrenaline, gets that mind racing. Let's start overthinking. And that's what is familiar to your body. Sometimes the feeling of guilt can be the exact same thing. Sometimes it's family expectations. Sometimes it's exacerbated by the family holiday dynamics. And sometimes it's feeling the impact of others' ripples. Maybe someone is actually disappointed in you. Maybe somebody is mad at you. Maybe somebody is frustrated with you. And this is that balance that I was referring to earlier. When we talk about ripples and how we can influence others, there's often this kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater mindset. So we either are in the camp of nobody can make you feel any way, or we are in the camp of you made me angry or you made me sad, etc. What I would like to explore here is both of those things can equally be true at the same time, meaning our emotions can influence and our actions can influence other people's emotions and their behavior. If somebody comes and swings at me like they're going to punch me, I'm going to have a feeling and I'm going to have an action directly connected to that. Conversely, it's also not ideal to say that it's just other people's responsibility for how you feel. We do also have a measure of responsibility over our own emotions, regardless of what's happening around us. Like last week in the podcast, when I was talking about you be the peace that you want wherever you go. That's something that you can do. So the question became in Freedom Camp, well, what do you do when someone else's ripple hits you? Caveat here, this is easier said than done. A. B, I could turn this whole thing into a month of teaching. This is super short version. First thing you want to do is you want to notice it. Did I feel this way 5 minutes ago? What's changed? The second thing you want to do is you want to name the source. Is this mine? Or am I feeling someone else's stress or disappointment? And if I am feeling someone else's stress or disappointment, it is now yours to whatever degree that you choose to continue to feel it. The third thing is you want to regulate. So maybe you want to step away. Maybe you want to breathe. Maybe you want to pray. Maybe you want to shake your body around. Maybe you want to do some tapping. And you want to help your body to process through whatever it is that you're feeling. And then the last thing is you want to return to your chosen word, your chosen ripple, your chosen atmosphere. And again, we talked about this last week, choosing a word for how you want to feel for this December, for this Christmas, or Hanukkah, or birthday, or project coming up, or. You can use this everywhere and anywhere. I'm just using it with the holidays because it's December and they're coming, or they're here. So you don't have to control the whole atmosphere to influence it, but you are responsible for your ripple and no one else's. So the very last part that I wanted to do is a really simple Holy December practice. Of course, if you have a journal, get it out. This is a great time to journal on. I'm going to give you 3 questions. If you don't, no problem. Just go ahead and answer to yourself, or put it in the comments below and it will be there for you to come back to. So first question, what ripple do you want to send out this week? Second question, what's one tiny experiment that you can do to support that new ripple? Maybe it is no phone during bedtime, light a candle at dinner, 5 minutes of quiet time with Jesus in the car before going in, letting go of an obligation. And then the last question, where do you need more of God's love? Maybe there's a part of you that feels maybe left behind, or not enough, or overstimulated. Where do you need more of God's love? So guess what? If you just did this, you're doing Freedom Camp work. This is what we do every week in Freedom Camp. So if something stirred in you today and you want more support in walking this out, not just for December, but in your everyday life, I wanted to let you know that the Freedom Camp doors are going to be opening again very soon. Freedom Camp is a Christian growth community for women where we walk together in mind, body, soul, and spirit, and we practice this kind of freedom work in real time and in our real lives. I only open the doors 3 times a year so that trust and relationships can grow in between. If you'd like to learn more, if you want access to some fun extras coming up in 2026 and a discount, you can hop on the wait list at the link in the show notes. My prayer for you is that you notice your ripples this week, that you feel deeply loved by God in every single one of them. And thank you so much for listening to the Freedom Camp podcast. Thanks for listening to the Freedom Camp podcast, where we believe freedom is nurtured from within and grows when you tend to it. If this stirred something in you, Let it take root this week and see what grows. And if you enjoyed this or found it meaningful, please give the gift of a review, share it with a friend, and leave a comment below. It helps us build this podcast community because we weren't meant to grow alone.